In the final episode of the series, The Good Doctor, which aired today, Dr. Aaron Glassman broke the news to Sean that his cancer had returned. Just recently, he enrolled Hannah in a rehabilitation program. The bond that he had with Sean had been mended, and now he was about to pass away. At first, Sean had been reluctant to acknowledge that fact. Almost like a father, he cherished Glassman. In addition to this, he took into consideration the fact that medical technology has evolved since the time of his previous operation. Once upon a time, his previous operation was a miracle. Sean did not let the news that the cancer had returned put him off. He was the host of a gathering that included the most prominent medical professionals. He presented them with Mr. Glassman's file. What he needed was some advice on how to save the life of his mentor. The first person to correctly identify the patient as Glassman was Lim. Moreover, she was aware that Glassman did not wish for any kind of involvement. He would have been there at the conference if he had desired it. Glassman has come to terms with his passing. Lim believed that she ought to act in the same manner. Sean was the only one who did not give up on the situation. It was Sean's intention to repair Glassman in the same manner as he had done. He could not afford to be without him. Park grasped that concept. He assured the interns that everything would be fine. It is not necessary for them to think of unimaginable concepts. Additionally, he informed Morgan that they are obligated to provide support to Sean until he himself comes to the realization that there is no escape for Glassman. On the other hand, they have the ability to save Claire. During the reception for the wedding, Claire ended up passing out. In an emergency, she was taken back to the hospital. The infection she was suffering from proved resistant to any and all treatments. It was necessary for the medical professionals to strengthen her immune system so that it could defend her against infection. The subsequent event was a case of septic shock. A call came in for Sean to come and treat it. Placement of Claire in a coma was the most effective method of treatment for it. It was a danger since there was a possibility that she would never emerge from the coma on her own, and this was a possibility. Would she have been willing to put her life in danger by taking that chance, or would she prefer to slowly pass away without it? Glassman was intent on Claire at the time. Claire attracted the attention of everyone. The only person who continued to look at Glassman's file was Sean at all times. His desire was to discover the answer. It's possible that Charlie gifted him with one. She discovered a novel approach that would result in the reduction of Glassman's tumor, at a level that would allow chemotherapy to be administered to the remaining samples. Sean investigated the matter. By working with Glassman, he is attempting to make it work. In the end, Lim was forced to break the news to him that both of his pals were passing away. Although it is impossible to say whether or not he will be able to save Glassman, he was being a terrible friend by ignoring the possibility that Claire might also be dying. Following the confrontation, Sean investigated various additional options for rescuing Claire from certain death. No, he did not go into a coma. On the contrary, he discovered a microbe that was capable of eliminating her infection and only the infection. It was Sean who conceived of the idea plan. He was able to receive assistance from medical professionals. It was impossible for him to save Glassman. Glassman was adamant about not attempting another miraculous operation. He was well aware that the cancer could sometimes return. When he could be enjoying the little time he had left, he did not want to spend the rest of his life fighting as he had the opportunity to do so. At long last, he conveyed to Sean that he was giving up, and Sean was able to comprehend his words. Sean gave himself permission to feel resentment against Glassman. The fact that Glassman was quitting up was incomprehensible to him. They referred to him as a quitter. It was a yell from him. He discarded all of his belongings. He returned his attention to Claire in its entirety. However, it was not sufficient. The plan to infect her with a bacteria that is less harmful could only be successful if they were able to identify the appropriate bacteria from among the billions of possibilities. The process took them a few days. After some time, they discovered it. To make use of it, all they needed to do was submit an application to the CDC for a compassionate use. Their request was denied by the CDC. From that point on, Sean was at a loss for what to do. It was beyond his comprehension how he could help his pal. Because he had exhausted all of his options, he decided to call Glassman and Lee to the hospital. Despite the fact that the CDC had said they would not allow it, he was determined to notify them that he was going to inject Claire with the bacterium. It didn't matter to him that he would be fired from his work. He is unable to say goodbye to Claire because he cares for her so much. Not while he was already in the process of parting ways with Glassman. It was also Glassman's desire that Sean not put his job in jeopardy. He gave his consent to disregard the guidance of the CDC and implant the bacterium into Claire. Indeed, he was passing away. To carry out that task, he did not require his license. It was not shown in the show how the choice would immediately affect the situation. On the contrary, they skip ahead in time a few years. In addition to displaying Sean and his role as chief of surgery at a San Jose hospital, they also displayed recollections from the past. Over the course of Glassman's dying moments, Sean was present. They went to the carousel that Glassman found to be reminiscent of his younger daughter. After the passing of Glassman, Sean made a trip to the region. It is official that Morgan and Park have adopted Ian. Dom pursued a career in pediatrics. Jordan reunited with her former partner. In the beginning, Charlie began instructing the new group of interns. The second kid that Sean and Lee got together was a daughter. Every one of their offspring turned out to be excellent. Claire, too, was able to survive. As a result of her realization that she had never stopped loving Jared, the two of them reconciled. In the future, they even bring a kid into the world together. Not only that, but everyone turned up to the symposium that Sean was leading. Despite the fact that Sean was in a wonderful place with his pals, he continues to think of Glassman with fondness.